What's good, YouTube? It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Boston community. Shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. In my previous video, I talked about how Jason Greathouse, Southern University outside linebacker, entered the transfer portal. In this particular video, basically, I'm going to talk about how the landscape of college football has changed since COVID due to the transfer portal. Now, when Pete Richardson came to Southern University, basically he took over a team that really struggled prior to his arrival. I mean, Gerald Kimball, from a philosophical standpoint, he was a good coach, but he really wasn't producing results on the field. Now, once Pete Richardson came, basically he turned Southern University's program around, and they went from being like a struggling team to a championship team, basically in one season. Now, the next season he had a down year, but then the year after that he won the SWAC championship again. Now, one thing that helped Coach Richardson, and he really benefited from, was transfers from D1 schools or 1A schools to Southern, because at the time the way things were constructed in college football, players, well, it's now it's FBS and FCS, but at the time it was 1A and 1AA. It's still the same thing. The verbiage and the terminology has changed. So basically, if a player wanted to transfer from a 1A program to another 1A program, they would have to sit out for a season. But if you transfer from a 1A program to a 1AA program, you didn't have to sit out. You can play instantly, like the next season. So basically, uh, Coach Richardson had built up a program, but it got to a point where essentially he was feasting and having a lot of success with transfers from 1A schools to Southern University. And the main 1A school that players transferred the most from at that time frame was LSU. Southern had a lot of transfers to transfer from LSU. They would be buried on the depth chart at LSU, or maybe they were good players, but they maybe was in some type of trouble or whatever reason they didn't find favor with their coach. And as a result, they would transfer from LSU to Southern. They would literally walk right into the starting lineup, and they would become first team All SWAC, All America, whatever the case may be. I mean, these are players like Michael Hayes, like Jermaine Sharp. Well, Jermaine Sharp didn't supplant Melvin Williams Jr. He did bypass Lionel Nicholas on the depth chart, which I thought really wasn't fair, but that was my opinion at the time. Maybe it's because Melvin Williams Jr. and Lionel Nicholas are from my area, but nevertheless, I didn't think it was cool that Jermaine Sharp transferred from LSU and he transferred to Southern. He jumped right ahead of Lionel Nicholas on the depth chart, but that's another story. But the point I'm trying to make is whether it's Michael Hayes, Jermaine Sharp, Nemesis Bates, you had a long list of guys that transferred from LSU to Southern, and they played instantly. They had an immediate impact, and basically they went from being buried on the depth chart at LSU to being first team All SWAC, and in some instances, like the case with Michael Hayes, becoming All American. So now you fast forward to 2003, and Southern University wins the Black National Championship, and across the way, LSU wins the national championship. Nick Saban felt like he was losing a ridiculous amount of players to Southern. So basically, what he did was he put a ban on players transferring from LSU to Southern. Now, at this particular point, after Southern won the SWAC and the Black National Championship that year, there were no more transfers from LSU. And the ironic thing about it is, the next year, Nick Saban left. Well, really, the ensuing season, he left and he went become the head coach for the Miami Dolphins. Now, that ban has been lifted since. However, the landscape of college football had changed since then, and basically it was to a point where it's an instant gratification society, because in the mid to late 90s, a player would be at, just say, LSU or whatever institution he was at. He wouldn't get to play maybe his freshman year, his sophomore year, his junior year, and maybe if he didn't get to play, he would transfer maybe his junior or senior year. But it's to a point now in college football where we live in a microwave society. Players want instant gratification. And basically, if a player's not playing their freshman year, they'll transfer. If they get ratioed, they would transfer the next year and transfer maybe to, at the time, we just going to say prior to COVID, they would transfer from one 1A school to a JC, and then after the fact, they would transfer back to another 1A school, or they would transfer to from one 1A program to another 1A program. And they just would sit out a year. So basically, that was the landscape in terms of prior to COVID, and basically that was the reason why like a lot of those guys that was buried on the depth chart at LSU they would transfer from LSU to Southern because they want to play, whereas maybe like 2018 those guys what they would do is instead of transferring from LSU to Southern they would transfer from LSU to maybe a junior college or from LSU to another program like maybe Mississippi State, I don't know, maybe Louisiana Tech, whatever the case may be. However, after COVID, the transfer portal came in existence, and one of the subscribers pointed this out. Like basically, a player could be a starter, and it's not necessarily anything that's wrong in terms of they're not getting playing time. They could just not like to be coach hard. Maybe that coach's coaching style doesn't fit their personality or the way they used to being handled or dealt with. Maybe they just want to change the scenery, whatever the case may be. But even though the transfer portal has come into existence, basically we still live in a instant gratification society, a microwave society where players want to not only play right away, but they want things their way. And if the least little thing is wrong, players are willing to jump into the transfer portal and jump into the transfer portal. In many instances, these players are not being advised properly. Either that or they don't have any guidance from someone in a mentorship position to help them. And these players, for whatever reason, they may making hasty, irrational choices and decisions. They're jumping in the transfer portal. And a lot of these guys are jumping into the transfer portal. And basically, they jump into the transfer portal and they have nowhere to land. And they just get stuck in the transfer portal. Now, if you're a blue chip caliber player, you jump into the transfer portal, more than likely you're going to have a landing spot and somewhere to land. So the reason I bring this up is because it kind of shows you the evolution of transferring in college sports, where if you look at Southern University in the mid to late 90s, basically you would get a lot of players that were transferring from LSU to Southern. And then you transfer them, you move spinning forward to maybe like 2016, 17, 18. Basically, these guys, instead of transferring from LSU to Southern, now they want to transfer from LSU to another school like Louisiana Tech or maybe even to a junior college. They would play at that junior college 1 year and they would transfer to another 1A program. Now, we living in the time after COVID of the transfer portal, and basically you get guys jumping in the transfer portal left and right. Southern just had two players, Trey Lang and Jason Greathouse, to jump in the transfer portal. You got guys from all over the SWAC, like Jackson State running back Sylvian Wilkerson. It is not just affecting Southern, it's affecting the entire SWAC. It's affecting all HBCUs, and it's just affecting the college landscape in general. If you look at Coach Prime, he left from Jackson State and went to Colorado. And some of those players left from Jackson State, went to Colorado with him. However, you have a great deal of players leaving Colorado, and they enter in the transfer portal also. Now, the bad thing about that particular situation is a lot of these guys that transfer from Colorado, leaving Coach Prime's program, they're going to get stuck in the transfer portal because they're not going to have a landing spot. So, in the comments section, tell me what you think about the transfer portal. Do you prefer the way players transferred prior to COVID, or you like the transfer portal? Because to everything in life, there's good and bad, there's pros and cons. To me, it just seems like players are just caught up in this new wave, and they're not getting proper guidance in terms of when they should enter the transfer portal or not. So that's it for this video. If you liked the video or you saw any value in this video, like the video. Any ideas you in terms of potential videos you would like to see, put in the comment section. Comment in the comment section, subscribe to the channel. Also, click the notification bell so you can be alerted anytime I post any new videos. You can also catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms, here on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. That's it for this video. Hopefully, y'all have a blessed, phenomenal evening. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace and blessings.